Welcome to the first episode of the Department of Defense's BeThere Podcast. I'm your host, Air Force veteran Kelly Flynn. Each month, the BeThere Podcast will explore a topic important to the military community. This month, we're talking about post-traumatic stress. The DoD BeThere Podcast is in support of the DoD BeThere Peer Support Call and Outreach Center. The center is staffed by veterans and military spouses who understand military life and who've been there. If you're struggling with something and you just need someone to talk to, or if you're looking for specific resources related to education of PCS or separating from the military, there's no issue too small. The call center is available to all service members and their families. On today's episode, we'll be talking with one of our very own peer specialists, call center manager and Army veteran, Donny Moncrief. Welcome to the show, Donny.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for agreeing to be on this episode and share a little bit about your post-traumatic stress experience. And you've been with the call center since its beginning, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so when did you first realize you might be experiencing PTS symptoms?
I realized it when I had transitioned out of the military. I was sitting at my breakfast table. And I was sitting at the table getting ready to eat breakfast. And this was a couple of days after I'd officially gotten out of the military. And I felt like I honestly had no sense of purpose. And a part of that, I started rethinking things through, and I thought about all the things that I did or didn't do. And ultimately, that was the point of realization for me right there, sitting at that table thinking, oh, man, I got issues.
Was it difficult for you to ask for help?
Yes, probably one of the most difficult things I've done in quite a long time. Reason being is, I was in the military at a very young age. I took on a leadership role at a very young age, and along with that came a pretty big sized ego. So I think the biggest challenge that stood for me getting help was myself. Because I was so worried about the image that would be portrayed about myself to others, a sign of weakness. I'm not able to handle my personal matters. I'm not able to control my emotions. How is this guy ever a leader? So the biggest problem was me and my ego. I just had to come to a point to get over it.
So what types of things did you try to work through these PTS symptoms?
I tried a lot of things. Some of the things that I tried probably weren't the best things. Anytime you're in a personal hardship and you sit back and you realize the things that you have done in order to get there, sometimes you don't make necessarily the best decisions. So I'll be completely honest with you. I consume alcohol quite often, and then I realized that wasn't something that I wanted to continue doing. I'd always had a love for exercise. That was something that I had did. So the other part that I also focused on was trying to talk about my challenges. But the interesting thing about talking is you actually have to open your mouth and say something to somebody that you trust. And I wasn't willing to do that. So I defaulted to exercise. It's something I had been doing since I was 13 years old. It was always a great way for me to get out a lot of my frustrations. So exercise was probably one of the best, and still is one of the most appropriate ways that I deal with my PTS. It's relative. Sometimes, it's always equated that PTS is typically associated with somebody that's been in a combat environment. It's not necessarily the case. You don't have to go to a combat in order to experience PTS. Transitioning into the military is stressful. Transitioning out of the military, stressful. Losing a job, going through a divorce, all of that is stressful. So I was able to get through that, plus everything that life has managed to throw my way by just exercising.
That's great. What advice would you give others struggling with PTS that maybe haven't reached out for help yet?
Get help. And if it's anyone that's like me that's looking in the mirror and worrying about what somebody is going to think about you, that would be the last item on my agenda, to be quite honest with you, because my mom told me this a long time ago. You can't change what people think about you. They're gonna think what they want to think about you, but it's up to you to let that affect you. So in many cases, the biggest step is to get past whatever challenges that you have internally and admit that you need to get help. Once you admit that you need to get help, then my second suggestion is find someone who you trust. Find someone that understands your challenges. Maybe they've been through that challenge before, or maybe they know someone who's been through that challenge before, and discuss it with them. I think when it comes to PTS, trust is probably one of the most important factors to consider, and also not being judged. So I would say find somebody that you know that's trustworthy, that is not going to judge you, and is going to give you some solid advice. I personally say that a lot of the challenges that I encountered are very normal. Getting out of the military, being exposed to combat, going through a divorce, alcoholism, trying to deal with finding yourself again after dedicating your life to your country is a big challenge. So find someone that you really trust and you know that's not going to share your information. And we have a team of highly trained professionals from all service branches and military dependents that's willing to have that conversation with you 24/7, 365 days a year. And the benefit about us is that you can call us, you can text message us, you can live chat with us, you can even email us. We take pride in being confidential. We definitely don't judge, because we understand what the challenges that the military community face, and we'll make sure that we listen to you thoroughly and let you know that you're not alone, as well as provide you that support that is much needed in this critical time. So in retrospect, I would really say just find somebody that you really can trust. If you feel that someone you really can't trust, or you don't want to disclose your personal life to them or your personal challenge, then give us a call. We don't know you, but we're definitely familiar with a lot of circumstances that the military community may face, and we'll be more than happy to listen and help you and help your family in the greatest way possible.
I think what's so great about the call center too is it's completely confidential, and you don't necessarily need to know what may be stressing you out, but you can just call one of the peer specialists and just talk about it, and then, start to make some progress and get some resources and move in the right direction. Because all the peer specialists are people just like you and me. They're veterans, military spouses, so they really understand the challenges. And thank you so much for being on this first episode. I'm sure we're going to hear from you a lot more in the future.
I look forward to it.
Thanks for joining us on the first episode of the DoD BeThere Podcast. We want to hear from you. Find us on Facebook and Tumblr at BeThere Peer Support, or Twitter at DoD Peer Support. And as always, if you'd like to speak to a peer specialist, visit BeTherePeerSupport.org or call 844-357-PEER. That's 844-357-7337. Join us next time as we talk about more issues related to post-traumatic stress.